So the premise of this video. I was a featured co-streamer by Overwatch Esports. With this came a raid after the OWCS broadcast, which was amazing. Thank you, Overwatch Esports. I was left with the question with what to do with this opportunity on a Twitch channel that's not even partnered yet. My experience is mostly in grassroots Overwatch and most recently streaming a ton of Faceit League matches. And though I do have some ideas for new content and ways to expand the channel and what I'm doing here, I wasn't confident enough to debut that for the first time in front of 21,000 people. So I kept to my roots and used this chance to promote Path to Pro and how newcomers could get involved. To that aim, I asked 3 wonderful people from our community to come sit down, have some quick chats with me about Path to Pro. They were awesome. I thought the chats deserved their own video, so big thank you to AFK, Aero, and Izzy for agreeing to put themselves out there and enjoy the interviews. All right, and please tell me I can drag. I can drag. AFK, what is up, my friend? Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Here, let me crank up your volume there a little bit. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come talk with me. Why don't you introduce yourself to the people and kind of tell us a little bit about what you do and what teams you work with?
Yeah, sure. So my name is that AFK noob, or AFK for short. I'm a Overwatch team manager. Right now I work with Timeless and also the upcoming Calling All Heroes team, TBD. Shout out to the gang. And yeah, I've worked with a bunch of different teams in the past. I worked with teams you might have heard of. Altiora, Pip, Good Boys is another one. I think another team. But yeah, I've worked with a bunch of different tier 2 level teams in the past and stuff.
Yeah, you've been around T2 Seed for a minute, for a hot minute, it seems like. How did you get involved? How did you first get started in the T2 scene? Be it, in a current role or in a previous role?
So it was like March 2021 is when I first got into that, because at the time I was like managing like Diamond Masters level teams, and I ended up getting an opportunity after I don't know if for the old heads around, you might remember Hour Zero. It was a fairly well known tier 3 org at the time.
Yeah,
their main roster fell apart, and I reached out to the owner, the MFG. You might know him from, he used to work with Timeless. So I reached out to him, asked if I could help rebuild, and that's how I got it. One opportunity led to another, and yeah,
it's just networking and reaching out to people. It sounds like.
Yeah, that's always something I advocate to people. Like, especially Overwatch people tend to be very nice. You know, it doesn't always work everywhere, but for Overwatch especially, the worst they can do is just ignore you or say no. You know, it's always worth shooting that message.
Okay, moving forward from that, it's now talking about your role as a manager. How did you get into that role, and how does that role different from a coach? We hear a lot about behind the scenes positions like coaching and managing, but it's not always apparent to the viewer what exactly that role is. How are those two things different? Tell us a little about what being a manager looks like from a day-to-day basis.
Truth be told, being a manager, it's not the most demanding work, I'll be honest. Like, I help deal with tournament administration. I'll handle like scheduling and booking scrims and stuff, and like some other like small things on the side, like communication stuff, but like especially between like the org. But there's not a ton that I do. You were asking like what the biggest difference between like a coach and a manager was. I think a coach tends to be, they can but not always be more of like a little bit more of a leader, especially because they tend to be able to provide actual in-game input. So yeah, I think that's where a coach's value tends to come from, is really just being a part of the team, and that they're able to help the players out of game or in game. But as a manager, I tend to view my job as helping players out of game. You know, making everyone's lives easier, doing all the background things so they just get to focus on their play, their coaching, whatever.
It's so important to you. It sounds like you're downplaying what you do a little bit, but that is so important. And the organization and taking care of the health and the balance of the teams, and to where all they think about is go in and win games, right?
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, showing up and winning is all that matters. If players and coaches can have all the other responsibilities off their head, makes things way easier.
Awesome. Let's see. What's going back to the list? been competing in Path to Pro, part of Path to Pro here since you're 21, like you said. What has been some of your favorite things about being a part of the Overwatch Path to Pro system?
I mean, there's always hype moments of competition, like winning and losing, getting that upset versus that one team. Like I still remember when like good boys beat like Maryville, in that one contender season during like
Yeah,
that round robin. Now it was like such a hype, fun, like stupid moment. But there's like the thrill of competition is amazing, but what really keeps you around is it's that, and also just the people that I've met and I can really like call lifelong friends. Like the game itself is wonderful, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing with any game. The game itself is not going to keep you in there long term. It's about the competition, the people that you meet and really connect with.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And talking about the people, what in your opinion? I mean, what do you think makes for a good competitor, makes for a good player? What are some traits that you think would make somebody stand out? For people out there who are maybe thinking about getting involved in competitive Overwatch and getting into the competitive scene, what do you think are some good traits for a competitor to have?
Uh, I think one really good trait that I respect, it's actually Noctis from the main sport for Shikigami. He has this attitude, and I really respect it. Uh, he's a very no excuses kind of player. It's not like if you if you lose, it's not like we could have just done this differently, or it's fine, like whatever, we played worse on the day. Like sometimes it does happen, sure, but it's like I love that no excuses attitude. Like you're there, you show up to scrims. If you miss a scrim, no, like that's not okay. You,
Right.
you make a mistake, you go and explain it, you work with it, you talk it out. Like you're always there, always putting the effort. Um, so that's sort of no excuses attitude, and also just generally people who put in time. I think,
That
especially if you're like trying to be if you're like up and coming, right? I think what will ultimately give you the edge over other people is spamming scrims and rank games and stuff. Just getting as much experience as you can in different environments and trying to make the most of every step of the way.
just do it. Just play.
Yeah.
Make the most of it. It's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I mean, that's all I got for you. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I appreciate very much you stopping by and just giving us some thoughts on Path to Pro. I think it's such an important part of our ecosystem, and it wouldn't exist without people like you here doing it. So thank you, AFK. Thank you so much.
No problem. One last thing before I go.
By all means, yes.
Shout out to the gang. Also, Mighty Beast in chat asked who's your favorite to play. I love Winston. I've been taking notes from Kuffa. I love Monkey so much.
Awesome. I love it. All right, AFK. Thanks again, my friend.
No problem. Have a good one.
Yeah, you as well. We're gonna go ahead and get Aeroplayne in here. Aero, what's up?
Hi.
What is up? Thank you so much for taking the time to come talk with me.
Of course, of course.
Why don't you introduce yourself to the friends out there? Tell us a little about what you do and tell us a little about yourself.
Hi, I'm Aeroplayne. Most of you know me as the manager of Shikigami, or the owner of Shikigami, GM, however it be you, or from ISU. I also work with a couple other teams within the collegiate scene and have like a couple other rosters that play under Shikigami. We have a Ka roster, Midori. Um, used to have a roster named Hikari that got picked up by Vice. So
Nice.
worked with
I
a
didn't
lot
realize
of
that's where
teams.
Vice came from.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, yeah, we kind of picked them up some players after their first Overwatch Stage 2, and then they played under us during Face It Season 1.
Right.
Did really, really
Okay.
well, moved up to Masters, and we didn't want
Yeah.
them to feel like in the shadow of an org, and so they wanted to kind of go back to their own thing, and it was like, perfect, like, that's fine.
That's awesome. I mean, what a cool thing to be able to kind of prop them up for a little bit, and then they kind of got their feathers on their wings, and you're like, okay, you can leave the nest now, fly.
Absolutely.
Amazing. All right, the questions are going to kind of repeat a little bit here, just because I want some different perspectives from around the scene. But I mean, start off with the obvious. How did you get involved in competitive Overwatch?
Okay, I actually got picked up to play on a team back in like 2016, 15, like really early on, by a kid named Strix for like Open Division back when it was on like Battlefy, I think, and it would be like
Sure.
11 weeks long, 12 weeks long. You'd basically
I
have
didn't
a
know.
game.
I didn't know you
Yeah.
competed. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, no. I started as a competitor because I'm really competitive, even if I'm not very good at the game, or wasn't very good at the time. Still not very good, but well, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's
So yeah,
fine.
I kind of like I started because I used to play like 10 to 15 hours of ranked in like plat, and I would try like really hard, and like I was just always grinding, and I kept running into this one kid, and he was like, "Oh, like, do you want to join my team for like open division?" I was like, "What the heck is that?" I was like, "Sure, yeah." Um, so we kind of did that. Like I played a couple like matches with them. My first like ever teammate had like Silvok on it. Like he was like the only Masters player uh in our team space. Like it was like so long ago. Like I like still played Tor back then. Like it was like funny,
Right.
but yeah, it was like totally just like I got benched because I wasn't that good, which is fine. But I was like very interested because like I was around so many high elo players because there was like Masters players, and like I wasn't even diamond. I was like 2,800 when I joined the team, and it was
Sure.
back when they used to mix like a lot of rosters together.
Well, then
Like
Masters players just they feel like they are
oh
like,
yeah, and
holy,
like
y'all are gods at the game. Speaking of
yeah,
gods, Munching Carrot, holy cow.
wow,
12 gifties out of
big,
Munching. Thank you so much, man.
big. Yeah,
Big,
so
big.
after
Okay.
that, I kind of just joined another team, played with them for almost a year, and then got then I like sought out like a better roster as like 4.3, and I asked like, "Yo, do you need a manager? Is there anything I can do to like just learn?" Because I figured like I wasn't really able to keep up mechanically, so I kind of wanted to learn more about the game and like figure
Still be a
out if there's
part.
way, yeah, that I could like kind of get into it. Realize that like I'm better suited for managing, one because of my age, two because like I just my hands they're old. There's like ping between my like brain and my fingertips, like
I
in real
understand.
life. So,
I
so I was
understand.
like, okay, I'll just like watch and like learn and kind of keep up that way, and it kind of worked out. It's kind of fun, and
That's
I've
an
kind of
awesome
been staff
story.
ever since.
That's an awesome story. Fun fact: Munching is the one that gave me my first shot. You had that. Hey, come check this out. Like, and and you're like, what's open division? Munching, who just donated the 12 subs, just gave the 12 gifties, was the person that said that to me. Was the person that was like, hey, why don't you come cast this tournament? I'm like, what? There's tournaments?
Sure,
Let's give it a go.
yeah. No, I mean, I love playing the game. I like grinding. Like I said, I like playing. I just know that I'm just not as talented as some of the players that I work with. So sometimes
Hey,
it'd be like that.
sometimes it'd be like that. That is okay though. That is
Yeah,
okay
absolutely.
because there's room for everybody in this scene, and
Mhm.
that's what I think makes Path to Pro so special, and kind of why I want everybody to kind of know about it. Like, hey, you don't have to be top 500 to come compete and get on a team
Yeah,
and
no,
meet
definitely not.
and
It's so
meet
fun.
like-minded people.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, let's go down through the list here. What's the difference between working with a team like Shikigami and then working with a collegiate squad like Illinois State?
Well, I think so. For me, the biggest difference isn't the fact that they're because both of them play in Path to Pro or like what used to be the Path to Pro system. I think
Sure.
the biggest difference really is like a very obvious gap in like experience and knowledge in the tier 2 plus side of Overwatch. Shikigami is mostly all rookie players in the sense of like they're kind of still up and coming. There's not like a lot of household names. Like you're starting to see them more and more, I think, within the
Okay.
last maybe year. But outside of that, like ISU has like a lot, like has several tier 1 players,
Yeah.
or tier 2 veterans that have just been here, like have been playing at the top of contenders for the last like forever. So if like ISU were to like prep for a match versus like Shiki trying to prep for a match, like individually, like those players just have better understanding on ISU on how they want to get to their like how they want to like approach their gameplay
Yeah.
versus like Shiki's kind of still learning that.
Sure.
Um, and like because like they've also like Shiki's only just started recently starting to compete against these like top tier rosters like Fluffy Aimers, level players, Citrus, things like that, like in the
Right.
last like I want to say 2 seasons. So it's like very new for them. Whereas like ISU, like you have Kaffa, you have, you know, Lethal, who's just they've just been around for a very long time. So
Yeah.
it's definitely that like knowledge and experience thing and comfort at that level. That is like pretty big and different.
And that's, I mean, that is a pretty big difference in experience level. I mean, but to put that in perspective for people out there, if you're not as familiar with the collegiate, I mean, Illinois State just won collegiate championship
Yeah.
back in May. So I mean, they're literally the best collegiate team in the world right now. I mean, at
Yeah.
least in NA, but that's, I mean, however that
NA
works.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
But
won
as far as
four national championships.
there you go. Yeah, like all back to back.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was one very chaotic weekend.
I
It was like
yes, I remember. I was there. I cast one of those championships.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But yeah, so there's different skill levels between two pretty vastly different experiences and skill levels between the two squads you manage. So I think that's very fascinating.
It's fun.
Moving on down the list. What's your favorite part of being a what's your favorite thing about being a part of the Path to Pro system?
I feel like that's like such a difficult question because I really just enjoy a lot of it. But since I've been here for so long, I think the thing that I like about it the most is just in the scene that there's all different levels, and I work with all different levels of teams. Like I unfortunately I
Right.
haven't like been able to work with like tier 1. Like I haven't been able to like travel to big lands or anything like that, but still being at the top of tier 2 with like ISU back when we like won contenders a couple seasons ago, back when contenders was still a thing, to like I work with like diamond level players, like plat players. I work with different collegiate rosters, like all sorts of things like that. So being a part of like player success is something that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
um and I really enjoy like watching players like genuinely like grow. Like anyone who's come through Shiki, or even that I've interacted with ISU, like I just want them to succeed. And it's not always going to be possible to be successful in like my team space, but that's okay because like the hope there is that just whatever they experience with me or like around like the things that I'm doing, positive or negative, like it helps them kind of understand more about themselves and what they're looking for in their journey, and
Yeah.
it can be more, and like they can find more success out of that. So seeing them develop and like actually improve is like so cool, especially with like I've had players that like have come through and like it's just like we just don't click and it like sucks, and then they leave and you're like, and then like the next roster they're on they like start like fragging, or like they really find the confidence, or like I just never, and it's just like so cool to like, and then they're more successful, and even though the experience might have been bad or like not the best, it like still pushed them and like helped them understand like, hey, well, I didn't need, this is not the kind of space I wanted, I need something like this. Because there's all different types of like environments that you can be in a team. There's a lot of friend
That
teams, there's a lot of like organized teams, there's like ones that are in between, there's, you can be sponsored, you cannot be. So there's just like all these different kinds of environments, and they're not always the people that you're with aren't always going to be the same. So it's like really cool to see them kind of like develop and grow and be on a journey, or like have them find success in other spaces. Like I think it's like really cool. Like Stone is a big
that's
example where he was on Shikigami for like a full year back when he was in tier 3, and he's doing
yeah.
so great. Like look at him now on Citrus, and like being very like a solid staple in like the tier 2 scene has been like, it's like just so cool. It's like very rewarding. So I
Oh,
think that's like my favorite part, is just being part of that journey for
your
anybody.
passion is palpable, and it just makes me smile from ear to ear. And I think that's so amazing that you approach it with such a selfless mentality. It's not about can Shikigami get championship after championship. It's can these players grow and get better and go on and do amazing things. And that I
Yeah,
love that. It's such a
I really think
selfless. It's such a
that's like a
selfless mindset. I love it.
big part of it. Like, yeah, I just want to see, like, I mean, I'm always rooting on my players. Sometimes make fun of me, like, why are you rooting for them? And I'm like, I like the players on the other team. Like, they're so cool. Like, they're trying so hard. They're like, you're an op. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but like, it's just like I'm really excited for them. Like, it's so. I mean, I'm never gonna be that good, so it's like really excited to be like. I guess like sometimes people are like, oh, like Arrow's like the mom of Overwatch. It's just because like I really do. I really want to cheer for these people.
Yeah,
Like it takes a while to find your other four when you're a 5-man roster, or like your other like part of your like your crew. It's you're not always gonna fit into every roster that you go into. So like
sure.
when it kind of like clicks, it's like, oh my god, that's so neat. Like it's just like it's exciting. It's just really cool to see.
That leads nicely into my final question, which is, what would you just say to somebody who doesn't have any experience but is looking to get into competing, into like getting into officials and stuff?
I think Face It platform is a really good way to do it. I'd say if you're in a collegiate roster, join a club team. Um, just talk to people around you, and like don't go in like, okay, like, I think my biggest advice would have to be like just go into it open-minded. There's a lot
Fair
of
enough.
opportunities. um Take an honest look at yourself as a player and seek opportunities that will challenge you, but also understand that challenging yourself doesn't always mean being the worst on the roster. Everyone wants to be the worst on the roster because you can learn the most from being like,
Sure.
from the people around you. But there's going to come a point in time, and this happens I think right when you're like on the cusp of like getting to that next like that level where like you're finding yourself and like you feel like you just can't get there. Like there's going to be a point in time where you're also going to have to learn how to lead. And your experience, like when
Mm.
you're trying to break through that next level, being the best person on the roster with worse teammates is equally as hard as trying to like be like becoming better, because you now have to learn how to bring the people up around you. And I think that's a
Ah,
skill that a lot of the tier 3 and tier 2, like lower, like the right around the lower end of tier 2 and upper end of tier 3 have a really hard time doing sometimes. It's just like, you know I want to win, so I want to go and like play with a better roster, right? Or
sure.
like, but I've worked with players who like we just don't get along on this team, and like all these like, I don't know, something I learned from, I would say, Redbirds is like sometimes you have a really tough semester and like we just not getting along, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to effing win, and like if you just come together and just play the game to win and like put all of your differences aside, you can like learn a lot from like just trying to like do everything you possibly can to like get that dub. And so like I said, it's like you're not always like, just be humble with yourself and like remember that like
Sure.
there's always opportunities to learn. So whenever you're competing, um it's all, you start somewhere, enjoy it. Like you can always find something from any roster you join, whether you're the best or the worst player, or even if you're in the middle. Like if you're very consistent, right? Start asking yourself, if you feel like you're not the worst player on the team and you're not the best, well, what can I do to become better? What can I do to be the person that like is like an absolute staple here? Like just find ways to challenge yourself.
I
I
love
think a
the
lot.
I love the idea that there's almost like a mentality tier shift of I want to. I'm gonna get on the best team so I can go win a championship and I can be around all these fantastic players. To I'm gonna make this team that I'm currently on right now the best it can possibly be.
Yeah,
That
and I
seems
think I learned that a lot from like working with like Redbirds players. I would say, just listening to like like some of like the players that I've had even on like some of these like random rosters that I've worked with, like LRG, or not LRG, Left Right Good Night, where it was like, like you're just, everyone wants to win, right? But sometimes like you have to challenge yourself to be a leader because people are falling behind, and you can either like
yeah.
let them fall and like be mad that you're not getting better, or you can try and get them on the same page as you as much as you can. And if you put in all your effort and do that and still do your job, it's like, okay, I did everything I could to get us where we need to be. If I put in all my effort, like we're chilling, like that's cool,
That's
like
awesome.
no regrets, so it's like, I don't know, it's hard. It's definitely hard, but I
It's a
do think
lot to
there's a
think
big
about.
mentality shift. Yeah. And I
It's a
mean,
lot.
like good players, like good players respect the grind. They respect people who don't quit. They respect people who
You bet.
don't give up. If you just keep showing effort and like showing that you want to improve and you want to learn and you're like actively doing it, good players will always reward you for that. People think they're
Amazing.
scary. They're really not. They're like the same age as you are, probably. It's like
Right.
it's like they're just people. Um
Yeah.
and they respect
That's
that. They respect the grind. If you grind, like you'll be chill. So grind and be humble and don't give up.
sounds like wisdom to me. Well, I think that's a good place to cut it. Thank you so much for
No,
coming
thanks
and
for
talking with
having
me,
me.
Arrow.
I hope
Yeah,
everyone
you
has a
bet.
great night.
You as well. You as well. I'm sorry to keep you so late, but yeah,
No,
thank you.
no,
Thank you
not at
very
all.
much. All right. Well, take care. Thanks again.
Have a good one.
All righty. All right. All right. Oh, I just can't stop smiling after that. I always enjoy talking to Arrow. All right. All right. Izzy, you there?
Hello.
Hello. Well, thank you so much. Oops. Oh, wait. I turned off. Double tapped. There we go. There we go. I had double tapped the name at the bottom, so it was just a bunch of gibberish. All right.
Oh, you're okay.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming and talking with us. Why don't you introduce yourself to the people? Tell us a little about what you do.
Hi, I'm Izzy. I am the current owner of Tanuki, which recently placed 15th in Overwatch Champion Series, and then I am also the manager for Absolution, which placed 16th. So I kind of here to represent the more like face it expert division and the lower group stage teams.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I mean, again,
Yeah.
it's kind of the theme here is there's place for everyone in Overwatch to compete, enjoy, and have fun, and all those things. I think you also bring an interesting perspective of being one of the newer managers that we've talked to tonight. How long have you been doing this, and how did you get started?
So I got my start just in Overwatch in general about a year ago. I want to say I started playing collegiate. I started out as a player. I was a flex support player for about a year, and I eventually just got to the point though where I was kind of like, maybe I am not fit to compete. It's just not my thing. Um, so someone had told me like, hey, you should try like going for a manager spot somewhere and like step outside of collegiate. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And so kind of just networked my way through, working with different teams, meeting different people, and now we're here. And that was about earlier this year.
What? Wow, it's amazing how fast that happens.
I know. It is just It is just networking, like genuinely.
Yes, it's just talking to people. So it's just you can just take one step and then suddenly you meet people, and that just leads to a whole world.
Yeah, no, like I tell people all the time, like how I got started was like, I had a friend who owned an org and he got me on a team to, work and manage with them. And then I met people through that, like those players on that team, and it just kind of expanded from there. and it's very fast. I call it like a summer side quest that I went on, and it's just absolutely crazy.
Is that a kind of, I mean, that kind of feeds nicely into what I was about to ask. Was that experience with that org what made you decide to go ahead and kind of start a team of your own?
Yeah, because I mean, I liked the way it was ran at the time. It's no longer existing for, a variety of reasons, but I
Sure.
really enjoyed my time there. So I was like, maybe this is something I can kind of work and, take things away and build something on my own.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, what's been your favorite part of this summer journey of yours so far,
Oh
or
gosh.
where the summer quest has led you at the very least?
Honestly, at least when it comes to my teams, especially something like Tanuki, who has only been playing together since late March, I want to say.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, late May. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
um, so I mean, when it comes to the accomplishments that my team has had, it's not about me, it's about them because they are the ones putting in the countless hours and all this time in. And when we were first on our official stream for OWCS and we played our match against Shock, like my players knew we weren't going to win that match most likely, but they were meeting like their heroes.
Yeah.
Like they were just excited to be there and grateful for the opportunity because they put so much time into bettering themselves and I I mean I wouldn't trade it for the world personally. And so just seeing them happy is what makes me happy because again, it's about them, not me or the other staff. They are the ones putting in the work.
It's such a cool story, and I know what you mean, and it's interesting that you're able to work up, that you're able to fight up through this. It just suddenly, uh, people, you have a group of players that, frankly, I didn't recognize. When I saw your squads, like I don't recognize any of these names. But you're playing on the big stage, playing against some of the best in the world, and these gamers get to play, against their heroes and kind of learn from their heroes. It's such a fascinating story. It's such an amazing story.
Absolutely. I mean, like, we knew going into something like, the group stage for OWCS, I think that someone had told me that, like, Izzy, you guys are like the only team that doesn't have any players with the Liquipedia page. Like, it's something crazy as that. And it's just like we really were going into this as like the underdogs. And, even though we got knocked out pretty quickly by ASU, which much love to them, honestly, like such a great team to play.
I think J
But
Man was in chat. I saw J Man in chat a few minutes ago. Yeah.
yeah, I kind of told him to show up, not gonna lie.
Oh, thank
But
you.
yeah, such a great guy. But honestly, like, man, I lost my train of thought, honestly, but
Oh, that's my fault. Oh no, I'm so sorry.
no, you're okay. This happens. I literally was telling Jamin, I was like, I'm just gonna yap and I'm gonna lose my train of thought. Ugh, it's fine.
um, it's fine.
But
It's fine. It's fine.
honestly, though,
Um,
like for a 3 month old, I think I figured this out. For a 3 month old team at the time, at least, making it that far into OWCS for their first tourney outside of Faceit League is insane. Like
yeah.
I find it so hard to like comprehend at this point. But yeah, like I said, even though we were knocked out pretty early, like we were all just grateful to be there.
I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment, and
Mhm.
and I think it's really telling because I think a lot of people out there might think, you have to be this established name, in been playing since you were an infant or something, to come in
Yeah.
and be competitive, and then for y'all to kind of come in out of nowhere and I mean just grassroots, hardworking squad, and able to make top 16. That's very impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh, what would you say to somebody else who's looking to start competing, especially kind of working with such a fresh young squad? What would you say to somebody else looking to get involved or wanting to participate with y'all with Tanuki, or even just getting into an open division or something like that?
I think it was something that Arrow had touched on earlier, where it's like, it's about the amount of, effort and time you put into wanting to improve yourself. Because when I was looking for players for Tanuki, we were looking for people who, may not be the most notable players on the planet, but you know what? They put in the time every day. They may be playing ranked together or whatever it may be. And like, for example, our core five actually comes from a college. If they come from Siena Heights University. And so, they already play together, they know each other, they've got this energy, and we took that and we were to build upon it. And again, they play together every single day, even outside of scrims. And so I think that
Always a good
is
sign.
what like the biggest, most important thing is just like how badly do you want it? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
because again, we were coming into this no experience in any sort of tournaments. None of my players have ever done this before. And the fact that we were able to make it as far as we did just shows like if you put in the love and time and energy into something that you want, you can get it. We
It-
kind of approached it in baby steps. We weren't expecting to be, a top 8 team right out the gate because, you know, they have more experience. So we were just kind of like, okay, let's make it to, top cut of a WCS. Okay, we made it past top cut. Okay, let's get to groups. We made it to groups and we're like, okay, beat ASU. Sure, we'll try. And unfortunately, we weren't able to. But like again, it was just kind of like approaching it instead of kind of like going for the gold right away.
Well, that's part of what makes, I mean, things like Face It and Collegiate and just Path to Pro in general so important, right? To give that avenue, to give that that venue, that place to go compete against the best like that, and where it's really kind of removes the barrier of entry in a lot of ways, depending on your approach, of course. But I think it really removes the barrier of entry in a lot of ways. What are your thoughts on the importance of Path to Pro here and how that fits in?
I feel like I'm trying to think of the best way I could probably word this.
This is I just threw you a bonus question here at the end,
Yeah,
so
you
I
really
apologize for
did.
that. I really did. I really did. We were
I-
having such a good convo. I was just flowing with it, I was just feeling it. I'm
No,
sorry.
You're perfectly fine. Honestly, like when it comes to my experience just with Path to Pro in general, when I was building Tanuki, like I said, like I was looking for players who have the drive, but they may not have the experience. Because
Sure.
I know that, like, the coaches that we have, they are two former contenders players from South America. Like, I know that they can mold them into good competitors. And so it was like, okay, if you if you want to be like on this path to pro, it's not going to be easy. It's not meant to be easy for anybody, and it takes a very special person to get to this point. And so I think like if you really really push for it, you can make a name for yourself. Because I think something Arrow had mentioned earlier that someone like Stone, who started on Shikigami and was there for a year and is now on Citrus and making this big name for himself, like that
Yeah.
is a big deal. And it is just proof that path to pro works, even if it's not exactly the same way it used to be.
Hey, we make the best of what we got.
Of course.
And fortunately, we do have a couple of different. We got the triad that is Collegiate, Calling Our Heroes, and of course, Face It, and hopefully everybody can find a place to find a home to compete. So anyway, I won't take up any more of your time, Izzy. Thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out late night to come talk with us. And
Yeah, of course. And
yeah,
I guess
it's
I
been a
just
pleasure.
will like to add, Tanuki
Well,
did make
please.
it to expert playoffs, so we will be streaming on our end for that. I think we'll have our main supports POV streaming, but any sort of support that we can get for our playoffs kind of would be fantastic.
Yes, go follow Tanuki on Twitter.
Yes,
There you go.
please. I believe it's like Tanuki_esports. I believe I could probably type it out as well, but
Yeah. We'll drop it in chat. Absolutely. Absolutely throw it in chat. All right. Well, I'll let you get out of here. Thank you once again. You have a good night.
yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Fritz. That was our final interview for the evening. Just wanted to kind of get some input from different teams around the league, different perspectives around the league, different experience levels, and coming from different areas of competition. For all three, of course, with AFK coming from Timeless, it's a very different perspective than Izzy that we were talking to, who's very fresh into the scene and is coming up with this fresh squad of players that don't have Wikipedia accounts, that aren't as well known, and still in here competing at a high level and having a great time with it. And of course, Arrow in the middle. Arrow's got a little bit of both, where it's got a lot of collegiate experience, and then the real kind of meat and potatoes of grassroots Overwatch with Shikigami and what they do to bring up new players and kind of train people to succeed on teams, not just in competing in Overwatch, but just in general, and help people grow. So really awesome perspectives. Really big shout out. Thank you to Izzy, Arrow, and AFK for taking the time to come do this.